think the game industry is heading toward a much healthier space right now than it was 5 years ago. From my point of view, it's kind of like the Cambrian explosion, back a few hundred million years ago, where we have all these branches now evolving, they're just exploding.
What are some up-and-coming alternatives to The Sims? We've got Life by You, an ambitious project that will change how we think about the genre of life sims. Paralives, my personal favorite in terms of aesthetics, gameplay, and 5 years of anticipation, does something to the brain. Vivaland seems cool enough. I have no expectations, except I might have already been convinced to buy day one.
The next review is about The next review is about the fact. The next review is about.
It's the infinite flute that sold me. I tried not to talk about Enzoy since my opinions would constantly change from hating it one moment to loving it the next. Shout out to Cozybug and this video they posted because now I feel I'm in a comfortable neutral place with Enzoy. Maybe a little hopeful. Does anyone still talk about Alter Life? Who knows if the game is real or even good, so I'll lump it in with the rest just to be safe. Could the next 3 years become the golden age for live sim lovers? Where would that leave The Sims 4 or even Project Rene? Would any competition influence the Sims franchise? The answers to these questions are based on the outcome of a simple one. How good is the competition? Also, EA's next moves could make or break their relationship with the Sims community. Do I think the Sims can be killed off? Absolutely not, especially not anytime soon. We're talking about a corporate giant with a 25-year legacy behind it. It will take just as many years for The Sims to die off. The right question to ask is, can The Sims lose popularity? Now that is a big maybe. Let the right string of events happen at the perfect time, and its long reign could come to a disappointing end.
The Sims, that life simulation game you've either heard of growing up or are completely addicted to. The latest installment of the game has undoubtedly received the most amount of backlash from its most dedicated players.
So what happened? A lack of features, outdatedness of the game, and DLC. EA seems to want to cash in rather than deliver a quality game.
I know this is a bit pessimistic, but I do think The Sims 5 is going to be a turning point, and I think a lot of simmers at that point will definitely give up on the game.
There's so much to love here, and so many artists and writers and developers who poured their absolute love and soul and heart into this entire project. And that really pains me because at the end of the day, no amount of cool little details or expansion packs can mask the fact that at its core, The Sims 4 is just a really disappointing product.
Genuinely have this horrible fear that The Sims 5 is going to be horrendous and it is going to kill off The Sims.
I don't think so!
Before we go deeper into the scenario, it might help if you understood my personal opinions. I don't hate The Sims. I've spent most of its decade in love with the game. This video on my channel tells it all. It was that day my focus turned from green to blue, a new obsession to instill so many hours of core moments. The next generation Sims game? I couldn't even imagine what a new title would look like. My expectations were sky high and Max's had a tall glass to fill. One of the biggest reasons I keep my distance from The Sims 4 is the community. Their behavior is not unique, but still so sad to see. When we switch the conversation to the state of the game, at this point, I feel nothing. It took over a year of never touching live mode, but we're here. EA is a video game publisher worth millions, not an indie studio. They have no reason to change if they're pleasing shareholders. Would you if you made as much as The Sims 4 does in a year alone? This might be controversial, but I wouldn't. If you enjoy The Sims 4, great. I hope that continues for you. If you don't, it is your responsibility as a consumer to show EA in the only way they care, your money. Trust me, they hear and see all of you. They do not care.
The game has changed on a pretty fundamental level. Yes, it's still about simulating people and doing whatever you want in sort of a sandboxy environment, but it's also done in such a way now that feels like a step back, and I'm not just talking about the features, I'm talking about the way that it feels to play.
What do you call notable features missing at launch, lackluster packs, and a gameplay loop so boring it causes players to prefer aesthetics over gameplay? I call that a game dead on arrival, but not for The Sims 4. Somehow, she's defied the odds and has kept its popularity. These cracks in the legacy of The Sims haven't caused too much damage, but their presence is still noticeable. If you try to address them, you're either met with EA silence or given the runaround. Maybe if you're lucky, they might distract you from the bigger issue with patch updates and sales. And don't let the community hear your complaints, because then you're being ungrateful. I'm not sure how you can feel ungrateful about something you purchased. Still, I understand where the pushback is coming from. When you enjoy something, it's no fun to see others being negative about it. The bugs mean nothing compared to the 500 hours they spent creating the perfect storyline filled with drama and lore. 10 years of high profits, 10 years of high spirits surrounding new packs and updates. Throw in a new gameplay mod and some new CC and everything is fine. The growing number of breaks and fractures don't compare to the amount of success the game has seen for the last decade. The Sims 4 stands tall regardless of its faults. Is there anything that could shake up The Sims?
For more than 20 years, we've only had The Sims, but rather randomly out of nowhere, all of these new live sim games are popping up. Now, all of these publishers, all of these developers, including EA, are gonna, step it up because everybody wants to be the best.
Remember that competition we spoke about earlier? In our theoretical timeline, we moved to the first event that is yet to happen. We finally experienced more options for life sim lovers. For the sake of the video, let's just pretend they're all good at what they offer. One after the other, they all drop. Life by You, Paralives, Vivaland, Enzoy. It almost feels like there's a new game for each type of player. Builders, storytellers, and completionists will all have a new experience with finally playing with life. Does the new life in the genre affect the Sims at all? I feel we should be prepared for there not to be an immediate change in The Sims 4's popularity. Most people will still prefer to play, and The Sims 4 will probably remain the main source of content you see online. Now, this doesn't mean there won't be any changes. If the competition is as good as we hope it will be, The Sims may experience a very slight, and I mean minuscule, decrease in profits. If you ask me, this is completely natural. But can anyone guess how EA will handle this change? I don't know. It's just a thought based on their past business practices. When there's been any obstacles standing in the way of their maximum profits, this is where you see EA throwing out anything and seeing what sticks. And for a while, The Sims 4 is going to be the main victim of this. It's time for more packs, more bugs, and more patches, rinse and repeat. Yet these won't be your run-of-the-mill expansions, game packs, stuff packs, or kits. No, I can guarantee they will be revolutionary ideas that transform the way we play with The Sims. In plain words, this is PR for half-baked features from other games or features they've had in the vault but waited until now to add in. You think their strategy will be obvious, but no, there will be a surprisingly large group that will claim The Sims is finally giving us what we deserve. The competition has lit a fire under EA. This one's my favorite. The dark days are over and we now owe The Sims an apology. I am calling it now. We will see a new energized version of what we know The Sims 4 to be. It will be up to you if you believe it or not. You would think giving players what they've been requesting for so long would create peace in the life sim community. There will be a new experience for each type of player. Simmers could enjoy The Sims 4 in peace, and those of us who want it more will have more. All should be right in the life sim community, no? This is what I thought as well until I asked the question, what do you get when you make Sims 4 loyalists struggling to uphold a broken game, players raving about all the new things they get to enjoy that they didn't get from The Sims, and a brand new community that has no experience with The Sims reacting to the chaos? I genuinely hope my theory is wrong, but this is a recipe for war among fandoms. Realistically, this time would be perfect to appreciate all the new life sims, and it could even help us see the good in The Sims 4. But that's not the way the community works. We've had our wholesome moments, yes, but recently it's felt as if the tension can be so thick, online interaction could easily turn from a discussion to just plain disrespectful. It's honestly sad how little faith I have in The Sims community, but they've proved my point way too many times. We all know how loud they can be with their opinions, which will make the three groups that form as a result in the shift of life simulation inevitable. I imagine these three groups as the loyalists, the switchers, and the newbies. You can probably guess who the loyalists are. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not all bad. I feel most will just prefer The Sims and will support what they love. Still, that won't stop the small but intense individuals from painting this group in a bad light.
The number one problem that I have with the Sims community is that we're toxic, girl. We're toxic. If we don't get what we want, there's riots in the streets. If there's something we don't like, we're running from the Sims forums to the Twitter thread to the Reddit thread. You're gonna hear our concerns and we're going to drag you. And then there's the Simmers who are, the toxic positivity group. It's like, well, you should be grateful because we have this. You should be appreciative that the Sims team worked so hard on this. Be appreciative for what? There's people who complain about the Sims 4, how the Sims 3 is better. Oh, I missed the Sims 2. Oh, I want my open world. There's no updated babies. We don't have cars. And it's like, you complain, but then you own every pack. You drag them, you bash them, but then you buy every pack at launch.
Switchers are something we've seen coming for a while, and I know a lot of you, like myself, can relate to wanting to try out and hopefully enjoy the new additions to the genre. Their intentions can be based on just wanting to enjoy the games we love, but from what goes on online today, some are not above fighting fire with fire.
That's why it's really exciting to have all these different competitors now in the life simulation gaming world. Even if you don't play these games, even if you don't want them, the fact that they exist means that the genre is going to get bigger and better across the board.
With any new game comes a new community, and that's where the newbies come in. People who have no experience with The Sims or its volatile community. I can't pin what their vibe will be like, but one thing I know for sure is their reaction to what could come from this change will be interesting.
Finding out a little bit more about Life by You makes it seem like this game is certainly a life simulator that has a lot to do with The Sims as well. However, some of the options in this game make it seem to possibly be more of a city builder than I ever could have thought.
If a war between communities makes you feel just as uncomfortable as I am, maybe a cautionary prediction is a good way to avoid the dark days as we get acclimated to making room for other games. This should be a time to enjoy what makes life simulation so enticing to us players. We should enjoy the differences instead of letting them make existing in the same space unbearable. Again, I hope I'm completely wrong in this, and the dark days of this new chapter are far from today.
The Sims team made sort of an unexpected announcement in 2022 that they're going to be making The Sims base game 100% free to play in October of that same year, only leaving the optional DLC packs for purchase. This move is creating a scary precedent for the future of The Sims 5. The community is concerned that we could either receive a severely unfinished product with hundreds upon hundreds of DLC packs, or we could even see the series move to microtransactions or subscription-based content.
Project Rene, whether it's favorable or not, will be a polarizing event. I've struggled to understand my own expectations, but calling it the next generation of The Sims feels like a very questionable decision. What we do know is there are plans for this to be a cross-platform multiplayer experience. At first, this seemed like a huge red flag, yet this will be easier to come to terms with once we experience games like Viva Land. It's possible our unwillingness to have change come to the style of play we're used to might be the reason multiplayer seems so unsettling. Cross-platform play is the real pill to swallow. However, claiming this is a sort of spin-off for the Sims franchise might be a smart move. This could make it easier for players to accept the limitations of the style as we get our fix of a sandbox single-player experience from other life Sims. After the first reaction dies down, this is when the real bomb will hit. EA has always had questionable DLC models, and something tells me Project Rene will not be the exception to this rule. Individual packs aren't feasible for a multiplayer experience. What happens if you have certain additions to the game but your friends don't? Can you guess how EA will take care of the problem of everyone being able to play together?
The whole idea of custom content and mods, how would that work in a game that has to also be playable through mobile? I think that's another great limitation of it. However, I have seen some things talking around about CC already being built into the game, so then you could download it that way. That could be a good workaround, but that brings me up to my next red flag about the game, which is this article that I read today. The Sims 5 will seemingly adopt a Fortnite monetization model. Even that title scared the shit out of me, and I don't know if that is basically like a marketing tactic in order for me to actually click it to read it. And free to enter. The Sims 4 is currently free to play. Free to enter is a different thing.
Subscriptions in video games are a common trend, and one thing EA loves to do is ride the wave of the newest way to capitalize on player purchases. This is in no way confirmed, but if this were to happen, a divide in public opinion is bound to create an even more pessimistic community. All it takes is the right string of events, and the dark days of life simulation will be an unavoidable disaster. How probable is the life simulation community becoming a darker version of what we know it to be today? Given the atmosphere of today, I'd say this prediction is not far off. The patterns in the chaos can convince anyone. Still, we have to remember these new games are made by different developers, and their takes on life simulation can re-energize the community. This could give us our golden age. That's only possible if we learn to appreciate what we have. No, not be grateful, but learn to understand the differences in the games we play. Paralives, Life by You, Viva Land, Enjoy, and any new game that could be released is not here to replace The Sims, but add to a genre that needed some nurturing for a long time. When I get excited about all these new features coming, it makes me feel at ease at what The Sims 4 is and what Project Rene could be. That want for more depth and gameplay will be met, and it'll be simple to accept The Sims franchise for what it offers. Changes need to be made, yes, but that will take a considerable amount of time and effort to see the payoff. Until then, we can try to be kind to each other and with the games we care about. Look at what we have coming. That's more than enough to get the community to a good place. It's up to us to choose how we approach the next 3 years, because no matter what happens, the change will be a large shift. The future doesn't have to be as dark if we choose the light.